This leaked file is Level 5 classified from the O5 Council. It details their deadly plan for humanity's complete and total extermination. This wasn't some anomalous entity, it was the Foundation itself. They unleashed every terrifying monster, from SCP-682 to SCP-096. The reason why was redacted, a horrifying secret discovered within us. Stay until the end to learn the classified truth about Project PNEUMA. One organization has stood as humanity's silent guardian, a shield against the darkness containing the unnatural. What happens when that shield is shattered? What if the Foundation decides to use its arsenal against us, for our complete and utter annihilation? This leads to the question that gives SCP-5000 its name. Why? What could drive the Foundation to betray everything? Fasten your seatbelts. This descent will be turbulent. The object, SCP-5000, is deceptively simple. It's a broken suit of advanced mechanical armor. Its internal blueprints reveal a more sophisticated purpose. It was designed and built by the SCP Foundation. A functional harness would grant powerful protective abilities. In its damaged state, it is a storage device. The contents of those files form this dark chronicle. The suit's arrival was sudden and alarming. It materialized in SCP-579's containment chamber. For those unfamiliar, SCP-579's file is expunged. Inside the suit lay a corpse, massively traumatized. Genetic testing identified him as Pietro Wilson. The twist? The most living Pietro Wilson was safe and sound, currently stationed at Exclusionary Site 06. An exclusionary site is a marvel of paracausal engineering, a bubble shielded from any reality-bending or timeline-altering events. If the very fabric of history were rewritten, those inside an exclusionary site would remain unchanged, serving as living records of the world that was. When questioned, the living Pietro was utterly bewildered, possessing no knowledge of the suit, the corpse, or the harrowing data log it contained. So let's finally open that log and see the world through a dead man's eyes. The first entry is dated January 2nd, 2020. It's from Pietro, documenting his frantic escape from Exclusionary Site 06. He writes that a group of armed individuals breached the facility and began a systematic, cold-blooded execution of every single person on site. Pietro, through sheer luck, managed to scramble into the exclusion harness, which somehow kept him alive through the ordeal. His next entry adds terrifying clarity. As he makes his way toward a designated Foundation safe house, he recalls the events of 6 or 7 hours prior. A mobile task force, Zeta-19 Lonely Only, entered the site using legitimate clearance codes. They calmly herded all personnel into the canteen, and then, without a word, they opened fire. Pietro, a simple power grid technician, has no idea how to operate the suit's advanced features, but he quickly discovered its most vital function. It renders him completely imperceptible to others. It's not invisibility, it's something deeper, a form of anti-mimetic camouflage that prevents other minds from even registering his existence. As he slipped past the carnage, he noticed the MTF wasn't looting or searching for anything. Their mission was purely extermination. This was evidenced by the fact they were putting a second bullet into every corpse just to be sure. His initial desperate theory is that this must be a chaos insurgency infiltration. As he trudges toward the safe house, distant explosions offer a false hope. Arriving at the safe house, he's relieved to find bottled water. The suit may provide physical sustenance, but the psychological relief is immense. After a moment's rest, he accesses the safe house terminals and finds something that freezes the blood in his veins. The SCP Foundation has broadcast a single, unified message to every government, news outlet, and anomalous agency on the planet. The message itself is a masterclass in bureaucratic horror. It begins, "The following is a message composed via consensus of the O5 Council. For those who are not currently aware of our existence, we represent the organization known as the SCP Foundation. Our previous mission centered around the containment and study of anomalous objects, and then the pivot. Due to circumstances outside of our control, this directive has now changed. Our new mission will be the extermination of the human race. There will be no further communication." Just like that, the Guardians declared war on their wards. The great unanswered question hangs in the air: why? Their only justification was circumstances outside of our control, a baffling statement from an organization that defines itself by its absolute control. With the declaration made, the Foundation immediately began to weaponize the very horrors it once contained. Pietro's log becomes a catalog of atrocities. SCP-096, the Shy Guy, an entity that will stop at nothing to hunt down and kill anyone who sees its face, had its picture deliberately spread across global social media. The result was a non-stop, globe-spanning rampage of death. SCP-579, the Leviathan, a sea creature of continental size, was targeted with multiple submarine nuclear detonations along its spine. The creature only stirred in its sleep, but that slight movement was enough to trigger catastrophic earthquakes and tsunamis that ravaged coastlines worldwide. SCP-622, a small silver bell that summons the impossibly capable butler, Mr. Deeds, was put to grim use. In the first 24 hours, Mr. Deeds materialized beside numerous world leaders and political figures, assassinating them with quiet efficiency before vanishing. SCP-6210, the Flesh That Hates, a hypervirulent infection that grotesquely transforms living tissue, was deliberately unleashed in major population centers like New York and Delhi. Its horrific spread was only halted by a desperate, combined effort from the Global Occult Coalition and the Church of the Broken God. And SCP-682, the hard-to-destroy reptile, was simply set free. That alone is a catastrophe of untold proportions. Next, the log contains recovered news footage. A reporter stands in a GOC evacuation camp in Sweden. Doctors in full hazmat suits rush between patients. The reporter urgently relays GOC instructions for any remaining civilians to seal themselves in their homes. Suddenly, a doctor shouts to a nearby soldier, "We've got another one. Died a second ago. Get the eraser ready." The reporter flees the tent just as a loud, high-pitched buzzing sound erupts from within, followed by flashing lights and plumes of thick smoke. Composing herself, she warns viewers to watch their loved ones closely. If anyone begins to exude a distinct minty odor, they must be quarantined without delay. This is an unmistakable reference to SCP-447, a small green sphere that produces a slime with a pleasant minty scent. The slime has numerous beneficial properties, but it has one catastrophic, plunge reaction if it ever makes contact with a dead body. The consequences are so dire that the GOC's only recourse is to completely erase the corpses from existence before that contact can occur. Back in the safe house, Pietro contemplates his situation. He could hide here for years, but he's torn between the safety of ignorance and the terrifying need to understand. He recalls a childhood memory of trying to discover what was knocking over his father's plants. He set up a camera and caught the culprit, a stray cat. His father's solution was to find the cat and kick it to death. Pietro reflects that everyone would have been better off if he just left the mystery alone. But this is different. He chooses to act, to become a tourist at the end of all things. He leaves the sanctuary. On his journey, he stumbles upon a clearing where an MTF unit, Epsilon 6 Village Idiots, is lined up. The commander walks down the line, stabbing the first soldier in the shoulder. He continues until he reaches the 8th soldier, who screams in pain. "We've got a live one," the commander barks. The rest of the squad immediately turns and executes the 8th man. They move out, leaving Pietro to scavenge supplies from the body before burying it. Later, he finds a radio broadcasting a looped, nonsensical message. 7. 5. Can you hear me? There is a hole shining in the holes between your eyelids. I want to be loved. 9. I'm standing behind you now. 5. The goddess eats the city in the sea. 9. There's a hole in the floor with an answer waiting in it. 7. Look, you're hatching. The text is gibberish, but the numbers are not. 759. 579. A cryptic pointer towards SCP-579. When Pietro picks up the radio, he sees it's broken beyond repair. Trekking through a forest, Pietro mooses on the sheer distance to Site 19. He can't risk a vehicle. While nothing can perceive him in the suit, a truck could still run him over by accident. He questions his own motives, concluding that more than anything he needs answers. Finally, he arrives. Site 19's security is in shambles, and the exclusion harness grants him effortless entry. Inside, researchers are still at their posts, but their work has been twisted. They calmly discuss methods for maximizing human casualties as if it were any other scientific problem. Pietro looks into their eyes and sees that some fundamental human spark is gone. He wonders if they are even truly alive. He logs into a terminal and begins to assemble a timeline leading up to the declaration of war. On December 16th, the O5 Council flagged a project codenamed PNEUMA as being of special interest. Project PNEUMA was a large-scale exploration of the collective human unconsciousness, the so-called psychospace, the deep shared structures of our minds, our base instincts. The next day, the O5 Council holds a vote. It's unanimous. The Ethics Committee, an organ of the Foundation known for its dissent, also gives its complete unanimous approval. Pietro can't see what they voted on. December 19th, a set of now redacted instructions are disseminated to all senior staff. This is immediately followed by a wave of suicides and resignations. Notably, the legendary Dr. Gears is among those who resign. December 22nd, a second set of files is sent to all remaining leadership with instructions to share them with all personnel. The files are prefaced with a simple, chilling message: harden your hearts. After these files are viewed, all suicides and resignations stop cold. Christmas Day, the majority of humanoid and human sympathetic SCPs are systematically terminated. An assassination team is dispatched to eliminate Dr. Gears. Their success is unknown. January 2nd, MTFs neutralize all exclusionary sites. The Foundation declares war on the human race. Clearly something the Foundation discovered within the human psychospace via Project PNEUMA triggered this. But that doesn't explain why it would demand the extermination of humanity, or why they would need to specifically kill the unaffected personnel in the exclusionary sites. Pietro is lost? SCP-055 Foundation, a tiny harmless robot with an over-the-top evil personality, is broadcast on every screen worldwide, endlessly promising doom it can't deliver. A moment of dark, pathetic comedy in the apocalypse. Far worse is SCP-1048, the Builder-Bear. Helicopter footage from Pietro's log shows hordes of these creations swarming through the streets of Paris, dominated by a colossal teddy bear made of scrap metal looming in the distance. SCP-112-9, a pair of teleporters becomes a crude weapon. The devices teleport objects but don't account for the Earth's rotation, meaning anything sent through emerges at over 900 meters per second. The Foundation uses them to bombard Genzir, the GOC's deep Earth sanctuary. SCP-410-4, an old man whose mere presence causes escalating disasters, is weaponized. Foundation teams escort him from one refugee camp to another, leaving devastation in his wake. Most disturbingly, the Foundation personnel transporting him are completely unaffected. SCP-056-978, a perfect replica of London built a kilometer underground, was designed as an ark. Once the underground city was filled to capacity, the Foundation detonated a nuke they had left behind. The log jumps forward. Several files are missing. Pietro writes that it's been 3 months since his last entry and he has no memory of that time. He finds himself halfway across the country, his body covered in scars he doesn't recognize, a bandage wrapped around his head. The exclusion harness is intact, so he has no idea how he was injured, and he is now carrying a briefcase. He doesn't know what's inside, but he knows one thing with absolute certainty. It isn't round and he must get it to SCP-579. Pietro is carrying SCP-055. This is the ultimate anti-meme. Anyone who observes it can understand it perfectly, but that knowledge evaporates from their mind the instant they look away. The only fact that ever sticks is that SCP-055 is not a sphere. So Pietro is now on a mission he doesn't remember starting, carrying an object he can't identify to a location he only knows as a number. This exact scenario fitting the not round peg of 055 into the square hole of 579 is the Foundation's ultimate reset switch. The landscape is a graveyard. He's walked past thousands of corpses. In one house he finds the body of a child. As he moves to bury the body, hundreds of pale worms, each bearing the child's tiny, laughing face, pour from the corpse. After that, he stops burying the dead. He discovers a strange coping mechanism. Whenever the despair becomes too much, he simply opens the briefcase. The next thing he knows, he's miles down the road, feeling refreshed and resolute. SCP-055 is erasing his trauma, his fatigue, and entire chunks of time. He finds a laptop on the body of a Foundation agent, and learns of more horrors. SCP-2000, the Foundation's underground facility in Yellowstone capable of recreating the entire human race, has been destroyed. The Foundation deliberately triggered the supervolcano, wiping out their own failsafe. SCP-2200 is a series of swords that, when used to kill someone, reincarnates them as a metallic being on a remote island. The Foundation mass-produces these swords, and now the island overflows with metal bodies, the living trapped beneath mountains of the dead. SCP-2241, A young boy with budding reality-bending powers is being used as a living weapon. SCP-2639, 3 teenagers trapped in the game engine of Quake, who can manifest as a deadly combat team, were once a loyal MTF. The Foundation now deploys them against survivor camps, lying to them. The trio eventually realizes the truth and ceases all hostile action. One night, Pietro sits by a campfire, surrounded by a squad of weary GOC soldiers who are completely unaware of his presence. He savors the silent company. He considers revealing himself but decides against it. He is no longer a tourist, he is a ghost. While there, he taps into their network and retrieves an interview log from inside Gensir. The interrogator is GOC Commander Morrison. The subject is a captured Foundation MTF agent, Samuel Ross. Ross is the only one of his captured team who will speak. Ross simply laughs at Morrison's accusations of insanity, stating that the GOC are the crazy ones. When threatened with torture, he laughs again. "You can't hurt me," he says. "I'm not supposed to feel pain." He hesitates, telling Morrison he wouldn't want him to know. What Ross says next is expunged, but it is followed by the sounds of blood-curdling screams, wet cracks, and rushing wind. Ross's voice cuts through the chaos. "You did this to yourselves. We fight in the light so you can die in the dark." The log ends with Ross calling them disgusting, and a final note states that soon after this event, an unspecified emergency led to the complete destruction of Gensir. That word disgusting is the key. It's the exact same word spoken by SCP-682 during its initial containment interview. Pietro's entries become more desperate. The briefcase offers less and less relief. He's growing numb. He documents more of the Foundation's weapons. SCP-3078, a cognito-hazardous image causing fatal laughter, is used to crash the newly restored internet. SCP-3179, a hostile liquid metal entity, is released to sow chaos within the ranks of the Church of the Broken God. SCP-3199, hostile humanoid chickens that lay indestructible eggs, are simply airdropped into population centers. He starts seeing stranger things. Blinker statues of MTF soldiers that move at impossible speeds when you're not looking at them. The Foundation has somehow turned its own men into copies of SCP-17-3. He also sees something impossible. A person stretched across the horizon, their body reaching from the earth to the clouds, a glitch in reality that the Foundation appears to be fighting. Then a breakthrough. In an abandoned jewelry store, he finds a teenager sitting by a fire. Around her neck is a ruby amulet he instantly recognizes as SCP-96-3. He is looking at the one and only Dr. Bright. Pietro deactivates his perception filter. Bright, being a senior staff member, received the O5 Council's files. He remembers the first file that led to the suicides, but he can't remember the details because the second file erased them. That second file, the one that cured the Foundation, was just a collection of mundane images, eggs, trees, religious symbols. It had no effect on him, and he suspects the amulet, SCP-963, protected him. Pietro assumes it was a memetic agent. Bright disagrees. He knows what memetics feel like. This was different. It wasn't like something being forced in. It was, he says, like being released from something. When Pietro tells him his destination is SCP-579, Bright scoffs that there are easier ways to die. Bright himself is heading for SCP-1437. An infinite hole leading to other universes. Planning to jump in, they wish each other luck and part ways. More files are deleted. Pietro is now standing outside the facility housing SCP-579. It's silent, abandoned. He feels a crushing sense of dread, a feeling like a gun pressed to the back of his head, forcing him forward. He knows it's aware of him. The facility is not empty, it's filled with blinkers. They can't see him, but they sense him, and they begin slashing wildly at everything in the darkness. One of their blades gashes Pietro's leg. He limps desperately towards the containment chamber. He makes it through the door just as they begin carving it to pieces. Inside, a gaping hole leads down into the darkness of SCP-579. It's not a straight drop. He can't just throw the briefcase in. He has to go with it. In his final entry, he understands. He's not the detective. He's the murder victim, the clue left behind. Why, he writes. Why did I carry this briefcase across a dead world? Why am I here? Why am I going to die? He begs whoever finds this log to find the answer. And then he jumps. We see a black, corrupted image file labeled as SCP-579. A final entry appears. Oh, so that's how it is. And then all life signs from Pietro Wilson cease. This is the moment he appears back at the start of our story, a corpse in a suit. The answer is hidden within that corrupted black image file. Embedded in the data is a transcript of a conversation between two O5 council members. One holds a document, his hands trembling. "Is this confirmed?" he asks. The other nods grimly. "Report from PNEUMA staff came in yesterday. It's everyone. Us too." The first overseer expresses disbelief, saying he never thought he'd find himself agreeing with that damned lizard. They need to disseminate a cure to all personnel before they proceed. Otherwise, he says, it'll try to stop us. Let's connect the dots. Project PNEUMA discovered something in the human psychospace. Something innate in every single human being. This entity, which they refer to only as IT, was so horrifying that it made them agree with SCP-682's hatred of all life. Humanity itself was the anomaly. The first file sent to senior staff was the raw truth, causing suicides. The second file, the images of eggs and trees, was the cure. As Dr. Bright theorized, it wasn't a mimetic agent that added something. It was an anti-mimetic agent that removed something. It removed their humanity, their empathy, their pain, their soul. Once cured, they were no longer human. They didn't feel pain, and SCP-1440's death aura no longer affected them. They were outsiders, just like 6I-92 looking in at a species they now found disgusting. The project was named PNEUMA, a Greek word for spirit or soul. The thing they found, was the human soul itself. The empty-eyed researchers Pietro saw were literally soulless. The stretched figure Pietro saw on the horizon, perhaps that was PNEUMA, the collective soul of humanity. A dying god fighting back, guiding one man on a desperate quest. SCP-5000 is a masterpiece of cosmic horror. A story of a man becoming a ghost to wander through an apocalypse orchestrated by his own saviors. In the end, Pietro found his answer. He understood. A single discovery was all it took to turn our greatest protectors into our most efficient executioners. Which leaves us with one final lingering question. If it happened once, who's to say it won't happen again?